Good morning, everyone. My name is Taylor Kaminsky. I'm the Food Access Manager with Urban Harvest. And today I'm excited to partner with the American Heart Association with Chef Shonah and feature a heart-healthy summer salad.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Urban Harvest Garden. This is their outdoor garden. It's a great spot for us to make this wonderful summer salad. And we are going to be making a peach and tomato salad today. For those of you who are lacking in potassium, this is going to be a great salad for you because peaches and tomatoes are very high in potassium. They're also high in vitamin A and vitamin C, so very healthy for you. So before I get started, we're going to go through the ingredients first. So we're going to start with 4 medium peaches. These are great peaches fresh from the garden. If you happen to be viewing this during the winter time and you can't find fresh peaches, feel free to use a 30-ounce can of canned peaches. It'll be much less expensive in the winter time. And then we're going to also have 3 medium tomatoes. So these are kind of large actually, so I may just use 2 instead of 3. So we have 3 tomatoes here. And I don't want to forget to recognize our sponsors. As far as the farmers market is concerned, the tomatoes are from Atkinson, and then the peaches are Lightsey peaches. So thank you very much to Atkinson and Lightsey. All right, then we have a red onion. We have some fresh basil, yum, yum, yum. Dash a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. Some, what I like to call EVU, extra virgin olive oil. And some red wine vinegar. Another option for you, if you don't want to use red wine vinegar and if you want a slightly different flavor, feel free to use balsamic vinegar. This is actually honey balsamic, which is going to add a little bit of sour and a little bit of sweet to it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start off by preparing our peaches, and I'm going to show you the hard way, and then I'm going to show you the way that I cheat as far as cutting peaches. So this is what I call the hard way. Now, as everyone knows, peaches have pits. So we need to be able to cut around the pit. So the best thing that I recommend using is a serrated knife. It has these sharp serrated edges that's going to cut through the skin of the peach. And the great thing is you can use that same knife and you will need it for the tomatoes as well. So the hard way is you're just going to estimate, you're going to have to guesstimate the size of the pit. So you see, I actually kind of perfectly did that. Can't believe I did that. So you see, there's a little bit of the pit there, and then here's the peach. And so you're just going to cut around the peach. Move this out of the way so you can see. So we're going to cut around the peach. And as you can see, this middle part is the part that has the peach pit in it. Now, if you don't want to waste it, you can actually cut off the end there too. So that will eliminate waste. And then we're just going to cut the peach into slices and place the slices in our mixing bowl. Okay.
And Chef, what's the easy way to cut a peach?
Okay, on the next peach, I'm going to demonstrate the easy way, which is probably cheating, but I don't care. It's all about making things as easy as possible, especially in a home kitchen. Okay.
When you have to make a quick lunch or a quick snack.
Exactly.
This is an easy way to cut those peaches.
All right, so I have one of these for apples, so this is for peaches, and it's called a peach core. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to take the peach and we're going to balance this on the top and then just press downward, and voila. So it kind of reminds you of the blooming onion at Outback Steakhouse. So I think they use the same methodology to make a blooming onion. So all we're gonna do is then just press out these peaches like that, and then you still have the core. So we're gonna do this 2 more times.
Hold on. I'm actually gonna video you doing that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Voila. And believe it or not, peaches originated in China. So that's the one thing I guess that we don't see here in America as far as eating Americanized Chinese food is anything with peaches in it. But the actual peaches originated in China. And then the first Westerners, though, to discover peaches discovered them in Persia. And here in the United States, just a little bit of trivia for you, Georgia is known as the peach state. But here's the deal, and I know this because I lived in Georgia for 19 years. Here's the deal, Georgia's known as the peach state, but Georgia doesn't grow the highest number of peaches in the United States. That honor belongs to South Carolina, believe it or not. And if you're ever driving through South Carolina and you drive through a town called Gaffney, there is a huge water tower that is shaped like a giant peach. And depending on which direction you're driving, the interesting thing about it is it looks like a big behind. And so people call it the peach butt. So that's just an interesting trivia from the southern part of the United States. So I guess you may be wondering, or maybe not, if Georgia, how did Georgia get the name of being the peach state? Well, Georgia has a lot of very skinny pine trees, which are called pitch trees, P-I-T-C-H. And being from the South, and the way people pronounce things, the pitch state became the peach state. So that is how Georgia got the name of the peach state, although they do not grow the largest number of peaches in the United States. So that's just a bunch of useless trivia for you. I just have one of those brains that collects useless information. All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm actually cutting up the tomatoes. Once again, using my serrated knife, which makes it very easy to cut through them. So what I'm doing is going to cut the tomato in half and then cut it in half again and then make those quarters. Now the other thing you may want to do is cut the ends off of the tomatoes as well. Okay. Uh-oh. All right, we've got a windy day out here in the garden. Now tomatoes are great. They're highly acidic though. So you need to be very careful if you're cooking with tomatoes to avoid cooking them in aluminum pans because that will react with the acid in the tomatoes. One way to cut down on the acid, especially in cooking if you're using tomatoes for some sort of sauce, is to add a little sugar or honey. And that is going to cut the acidity a little bit of the tomatoes. And believe it or not, when tomatoes were first discovered, they were initially considered to be poisonous. So people did not eat them. But then they realized that they weren't poisonous, and they've been introduced into the diets of everyone around the world. Tomatoes are very common, of course, in Mediterranean or Italian foods and in Mexican foods as well. Okay, so we've got our tomatoes, we've got our peaches. The next thing we're going to do is, I'm going to do the basil and I'm going to do the onion last. The reason why I'm going to cut the onion last is because it's an onion and it's going to leave a nice oniony residue on my cutting board. So I'm trying to avoid that even though we're putting onion in the salad. So this is fresh basil. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a procedure. You can do this two ways. You can just tear it into pieces like this and put it in the salad. Or if you want to test your chef skills, we're going to do something called a chiffonade. And what I've done is I've taken the basil leaves and I've rolled them up like so. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to switch knives and I'm going to use this sharper knife, and we're just going to cut it into ribbons. So you see your basil is now cut into nice pretty ribbons like that, and then you just toss it into your salad. So much prettier than tearing it, but hey, if you like to tear it, that's fine too, because it's going to taste the same. Okay, so we got our peaches, our tomatoes, our fresh basil, and then we're going to add our onion. So
how much onion are you going to use today in the salad?
Okay, so the recipe calls for a small red onion. So I'm actually going to use half of this onion because I don't want the onion flavor to overpower the flavor of the tomatoes and the peaches. We want it to kind of accentuate it.
Okay, so a balance between all
a
three.
balance between it.
Great.
However, if you are a big onion fan, feel free to use as much onion as you like. But I'm going to use half of it because I don't want the onion flavor to be overpowering. The great thing is we're using a red onion, which has a sweeter taste than your white onions, so that's a good thing. So we want to chop the onion. So what I'm going to do is take off this tough part, and we're just going to chop it like so. And feel free, I'm dicing this kind of small, but you can feel free to dice the onion in larger pieces or smaller pieces. It just depends on how you like your onion. Okay, so we've got our onion, and we're going to add this to our bowl.
It's really great with the fresh onion and the basil from the teaching garden. You can smell all of that fresh.
I was about to
summer
ask you if you
produce.
could smell it.
I can
Yeah.
definitely smell the basil.
Okay, so we've taken care of all of that. And so the next thing we're just going to do is add some salt, some black pepper, our oil, and our vinegar. Okay.
And that's it.
And that's it. It's a
Wow.
really quick and easy summer salad. So we're going to add the salt and our pepper. I'm mixing the two in this 1 teaspoon because this is 1/4 of a teaspoon. It's 1/8 and 1/8. So I just put half salt, half pepper. So we put that in there. And then we have 1 tablespoon of our extra virgin olive oil. Once again, oh, go ahead.
How does the oil work with the salt and pepper? Can you talk about how those flavors balance together?
Well, the key is not so much how the oil works with the salt and pepper, but how the oil, the salt and pepper, the vinegar, and the juices from everything are going to mix together. And what it's going to do is make a natural vinaigrette, because a vinaigrette is just a mixture of oil and vinegar. So we're making a natural vinaigrette with a little bit of oil and a little bit of vinegar, and then all that wonderful juice from the tomatoes and the peaches.
Lovely. So that's going to be our dressing.
That's going to be our dressing.
Great.
So we've got our vinegar. And voila. So now we're just going to mix all of this together. And if you're not a fan of extra virgin olive oil because of the stronger flavor, feel free to use what they call a lighter olive oil. And the lighter olive oil does not mean that it's lighter in fat. It just means that the olive flavor is lighter. The only thing that you are going to sacrifice is some of the health benefits that you do get from the extra virgin olive oil, that in the process of them making the olive oil lighter, it just doesn't have some of the same health benefits, but the flavor might be better for you if you're not a big fan of olives.
You'll still make that vinaigrette no matter what
Yes.
oil.
Yes.
Great.
Yes. Okay, so we mixed everything together. I'm trying to make sure we get the basil evenly distributed as well. And I don't know if you can see from the camera, but you see how it's made that really natural vinaigrette there. So you've got all of that great peach juice, the tomato juice, the olive oil, and the vinegar mixing together. So if you wanted to serve this on a bed of lettuce, you could, and you don't have to add any dressing to the lettuce because we have the natural dressing from the salad itself. So there we have it, a great summer peach and tomato salad full of potassium, vitamin A, vitamin C, and then just that great natural taste from the basil. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Bon appetit.
Thanks so much, Chef Shonah. This has been a true treat having you cook with us in the teaching garden. You can find these produce items, our peaches and tomatoes, at the Urban Harvest Saturday Market every Saturday from 8 to noon at the Buffalo Speedway and Westheimer entrance. check us out at urbanharvest.org.